Hey there, it's Sam and the little guy here with another episode. Oh, will this work? Is this going to work for you tonight? Okay, here with another episode of Nerdy Bedtime Stories. This guy is definitely sleepy. He's just had about 4 ounces of milk, but he's still fighting the sleep and fussing as one does. So maybe a good bedtime story with Daddy is just what you need. Okay, little man? You ready? Let's hear it. Let's see if that'll help. So, once upon a time, in the Marvel Universe, there was a faraway kingdom of castles and magic and warriors and Vikings and all that cool stuff. And this kingdom was in space, and it was called Asgard. And in Asgard, there lived warriors and kings, like I just said, and the Norse gods. Now, Benny, it's important to understand, in real life, there is only one god. They even say that in the Avengers movie. But these stories of superheroes and other gods are just pretend. And in this pretend world, we have some other gods. Like King Odin, he is the all-wise, all-seeing, all-father of Asgard, and he has 2 sons. One of them is Thor. He's the one our story is about. He's the god of thunder. And Thor's brother is Loki, the god of mischief. Okay? He's bad, or at least misunderstood. I'll let you draw your own conclusions there. But he's kind of the bad guy, this one. And so, one time when Thor and Loki were both young men, they're hundreds of years old, but that's a whole other topic. There was going to be a royal ceremony where Thor was going to become king of Asgard because he's the next in line. He's the oldest son. And Thor was just about to be crowned king. But Benny, Asgard got attacked by frost giants. They're these blue, icy monsters who are made of frost. They come from one of the other realms, Jotunheim, I think. And they're enemies of Asgard, and they attacked. And Thor was very angry. Thor has a hot temper. That's one of the character flaws he'll have to overcome. And he wanted to fight back at the frost giants. But Odin told him not to, because Odin said you have to kind of wait and become, learn to choose your battles and become a wise king and all that stuff. But Thor was harsh and hot-headed. And he wanted to go fight the frost giants, so he took Loki with him and some of their friends, like the Warriors 3. Their names are Fandral, Hogun, and Volstagg, if I remember that correctly. And Lady Sif, I don't know if she went with them, she was in there somewhere. And they went to fight the frost giants. And Thor had a magic hammer named Mjolnir that smashes things and comes to him whenever he wants it. And he used his hammer to smash a bunch of frost giants, and it was a really cool battle. But the thing is, when they got back to Asgard, Odin wasn't happy because Thor didn't obey him, and they had a peace with the frost giants before that Thor had kind of wrecked. To be honest, I can't remember, was it actually the frost giants who attacked them, or was it like Loki using his tricks to make it look like that? I don't remember any. But Thor had broken the peace of the frost giants, and Odin wanted to teach him some humility and teach him how to be a better person. So what did he do? He sent Thor down to Earth. He stripped Thor of his power, and he even sent his magic hammer down, and it said he could only be picked up again by someone who was worthy of the power. And Thor fell down to Earth as just kind of a regular guy. I'll try to speed this along because taking a few minutes already. And when Thor fell to Earth, he met some friends who found him in a field. He met a scientist lady named Jane Foster, and she had some friends named Darcy and Eric, and they tried to help him out and figure out who he was and where he came from. And he was talking about like Asgard and gods and the frost giants and stuff like that, and they thought he was a little crazy because Dr. Eric knew that these things were just mythological stories. He thought they weren't real, but in the Marvel Universe, they are real, because all kinds of aliens and mythologies and stuff. are real in Marvel. So Thor was on Earth, learning how to be a regular person without his power, kind of. And meanwhile, Loki was still back in Asgard, and Loki found out some troubling news. He found out that he was adopted. He wasn't Odin's real son, and he actually was a frost giant himself. His father was Laufey of the Frost Giants, and that made him sad or something because he found out his enemies were actually his people, and he didn't know who he was and stuff. And I forget, Loki either got rid of Odin somehow or Odin got hurt somehow. And guess what, Benny? When Odin was gone, Loki took over Asgard. He used his tricks and his mischief to become king of Asgard in Odin's absence, and I'm sure he's up to no good. Loki even came to visit Thor on Earth one time, and he's pretended to be his friend, but he's kind of jealous of Thor, so he's not quite his friend. And he said, well, I would bring you back, but I can't after Odin sent you away, and all this stuff. So he wasn't actually trying to be Thor's friend. He still wants to prove something to his big brother. And so Thor wanted to get his powers back and find his hammer, and they did find it. I told you last time at the end of Iron Man 2, they found the hammer. The secret agents did, Phil Coulson and S.H.I.E.L.D., and they had it in this big facility, but no one could pick up the hammer because it's magic and only someone who's worthy can pick it up. So Thor went there and he tried to break in, and he tried to get his hammer back, and there was a secret agent with a bow and arrow who was tracking him. His name was Clint, or Hawkeye, and he'll be important in later movies, but in this movie he just had a small part. But Thor found his hammer and tried to pick it up. But guess what, Benny? He couldn't. He couldn't pick it up. He tried and he pulled as hard as he could, and he couldn't get it because he still wasn't worthy of the power. And that made Thor very sad. Yeah. So let's see what happened then. I know I skipped a bunch. This is the broad overview section. Let's see. So Thor thought he wasn't worthy, and I'm sure he had some moments of mopey self-realization or something like that. And then later, Loki still wanted his revenge against Thor, and when he learned that Thor had started to be friends with some Earth people, he thought that was a good time to take it. So Loki sent a creature down to Earth. It was a suit of armor, but a magic suit of armor that came to life, and its name was the Destroyer. Oh, your eyes are closed. I think you're asleep. Okay. We'll wrap this up. And the Destroyer started destroying and fighting things. And Thor tried to stop the Destroyer from destroying things, as its name suggests. But he knew somehow that Loki was behind it. And so he said to Loki, it's like, brother, I'm sorry for the way I treated you, and I'm sorry for how you've been wronged. I forget exactly, but he learned humility, Benny, which is being able to say you're sorry, and is not always fighting and being mad and hurting someone even when you can. It's choosing to let things go. So he started to learn how to do that, and when he did, guess what happened, Benny? He got his powers back, and he got his whole Thor armor and cape and stuff, and his hammer came right to him, because now he was worthy, because he learned how to be a good guy, at least more so. And he was able to fight the Destroyer, I think, I don't remember, and beat it. But then he had to go back to Asgard to deal with his brother Loki. And it was kind of sad because he had started to fall in love with Jane Foster. I know I didn't talk about her much. I'm speaking through these things, but he missed her, and we'll see her again in another movie or two. But for now, he had to say goodbye to Jane Foster and go back to Asgard since he had his powers. And Loki had taken over Asgard, and I guess Odin was back somehow. And they realized that Loki was actually manipulating everyone from behind the scenes, because that's what he does, because he's a sneaky, tricky guy. And they had a big showdown on the Rainbow Bridge. There's a Rainbow Bridge that leads to Asgard. It's called the Bifrost. And somehow the bridge got broken, I think. I'm a little fuzzy in the details. Sorry, Benny. We'll skip through this. The important parts. They confronted Loki on the bridge, and he was basically like, he just wanted their attention. Now, that doesn't make it right to do the things he did. He's still a bad guy, but maybe a bad guy with an understandable motive. I'll let you contemplate those ethical dilemmas on your own. But he really just wanted to be noticed and to be worthy by his dad and his brother. And Loki said to Odin, like, Dad, I could have done it. And Odin was like, no, Loki. Which is sad. He still wasn't quite accepting of his son. And Loki fell off of the Rainbow Bridge. Benny, he fell off the Rainbow Bridge. And he died. Asterisk. Spoilers, no he didn't. Because people in movies don't die. Especially Loki. But he definitely appeared to die at the end of the movie. And that was sad. But now Thor was back in Asgard, and I think his dad offered him to be king again, or was that the second one? But either way, he said he didn't want to be king yet. He still had to learn some things about how to be a good guy and a good fighter. And so he was back in Asgard, and they were working on making peace and working on things in Loki's absence. And he missed his friends he met on Earth, especially Jane Foster, but he'll see them again. And they all lived happily ever after, until the next movie. But then, Benny, guess what? There was something from Asgard that came to Earth. I forget how they got it quite exactly. Or maybe it wasn't from Asgard. I know it was in Asgard before. In the end, we saw Nick Fury. Remember him? He's the top secret agent of this group. And he had a mysterious cube item called the Tesseract that we'll hear more about later. And he was talking to Dr. Eric about it to see if he could find any answers. But guess what, Benny? Loki was there whispering in Dr. Eric's ear. He was still alive because magic and reasons. And he was up to no good. So what's going to happen with that next time? I don't know. We'll see. Okay, good night. That's the end of our story for today. Thanks for listening. If you like these stories and this kind of silly, fun stuff between dads and their boys, like and subscribe. There's more where that's coming from. Good night.